Hey, this is Jungle Jenna, and I'm back with a review of The Theory of Everything, starring Eddie Redmayne and Felicity Jones. So, following watching this movie, I had to buy Jane Wilde's memoir um, about her relationship with Stephen Hawking in their 25-year marriage. So, it's called Traveling to Infinity. And this picture right here is of Stephen Hawking and Jane when they were a young couple. They had just recently married, and he had just been diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. And in the full picture, you can actually see that he's using a cane to support himself. So that was when, before he was in a wheelchair. But The Theory of Everything, I've wanted to see this movie for a long time. I saw the trailer back when it came out in 2014, I think, and ever since then, I've really wanted to see the movie. Um, and I remembered that Eddie Redmayne looked very cute with his glasses, so that's like what stuck out in my mind was that Eddie Redmayne looked quite attractive with those black framed glasses. Um, but I thought I was really intrigued by the love story behind this movie and how it really focuses on his relationship with his first wife Jane, and it's a very emotional movie. And just as a heads up, there are going to be spoilers. I'll be going over details from the movie that you might not want to hear if you don't want to be spoiled. So the movie first begins with Stephen Hawking. He's studying and pursuing his PhD, and he happens to meet Jane at a party. And right off the bat, these two are polar opposites. She's pursuing the arts, he's pursuing science. She's a devout Christian, he's an atheist. And despite the fact that they are both so different, they come together and form this couple. And when Stephen is diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease and he is given only 2 years to live, Jane, she wants them to get married because she wants to spend as much time with him as she possibly can before he dies. And so kind of that kind of kicks off the movie, and you see their married life, and you see Stephen's accomplishments in science, and you see him uh, coming up with his theories and disproving his own theories by coming up with even newer, grander ones, and writing his book. Um, so it definitely takes you like throughout like a 25-year span of time. But really, the heart of the movie is about his relationship with Jane and their marriage. And it's actually very heartbreaking because it accurately portrays like how much stress and pressure Jane was under to try to hold this family together and to not only take care of Stephen but to also raise their children. And she was really so supportive of him and everything that he did. And it's heartbreaking because she comes to a point where she meets this man named Jonathan, who's a choir master, and he is kind of roped into the family and into helping with Stephen and the kids. But she and Jonathan end up developing feelings for each other. And in real life, Jane and Jonathan did actually end up getting married 7 years after Stephen and she separated. So that is accurate to how things happen in real life. But I read that because contrary to what happens to the movie, in the movie, Stephen is very supportive of this relationship that Jane has with Jonathan and doesn't really like seem to question that she has this closeness with him. Whereas in real life, I've read things where he was hurt by the closeness that she had with Jonathan and suspected that she didn't love him anymore. And that was a contributing factor to him separating from her and moving into a different house. So there are, some inaccuracies just between like real life and the movie. And there were things that they did like gloss over or leave out. because after I watched The Theory of Everything, um, I ended up watching a documentary called Hawking, and it was all about it was told from Stephen Hawking's point of view. It was his narration, and he talked about his life and how he was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease and his relationship with Jane. And um, there were segments of their marriage where they had actually moved to the United States, and like they had graduate students who came to live with them and helped with Stephen's care, and they didn't really show that in the movie. And even like with Stephen's book, A Brief History of Time, it kind of glosses over like how he wrote the book and how the whole process that went into writing it. It's just a lot of his accomplishments are just featured in the background. Like I said, it's mostly about his relationship with Jane, but it was interesting to go and research him more and to find out about those little details that weren't included in the movie. But the acting is absolutely phenomenal. Eddie Redmayne, he did end up winning Best Actor for this movie and for his performance, and he did like an absolutely outstanding job. And Felicity Jones as well is really good as Jane, but really like the standout performance for me was Eddie Redmayne as Stephen Hawking, and it really like captured the progression of his disease and how he slowly became crippled. And so it's really like heartbreaking to watch, and that's another emotional tearjerker component of the movie. But at the same time, it also induces a sense of amazement that Stephen Hawking maintained this great sense of humor and this positive outlook on his life despite his circumstances. So it's The Theory of Everything definitely showcases a love story, but it's a very heartbreaking love story because it does not work out between Jane and Stephen. They do end up parting ways, and Stephen goes on to marry his nurse, Elaine. And it doesn't like really show a lot of those things in the movie, but it does kind of give you like snapshots of his early interactions with Elaine and how he's kind of there's this flirtatious banter between them. And so it was like heartbreaking because like Stephen and Jane were such a cute couple, and they were so invested in each other. And so to have both of them kind of straying from the relationship and each going in their own direction, that was like really hard to watch. But I would definitely I ended up buying this movie after I watched it, so now I have it on DVD, and it belongs in my collection. So yeah, I definitely recommend this movie. It's very beautiful, and I'm really excited to read Jane's memoir, which the book I think was inspiration for the movie, and you can really feel Jane's voice in the movie, which I think came from the book. So definitely go ahead and watch it. And if you have any suggestions for me for things that you think I should review or watch, feel free to leave those below in the comments section. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.